Welcome to today's Explainer. So today we're exploring Rumi. And look, we're not just going to talk about him as some famous poet from the past. We're looking at Rumi as a living, breathing guide for the human soul. This isn't just about admiring beautiful language, right? It's about actual, profound inner transformation. Let's get right into it.
I want you to pause for just a second. What is happening inside you as you live? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? But it's absolutely crucial, because it strips away all those daily distractions and forces us to look right at the core of our being. And really, this is the exact starting point of all Sufi wisdom. Section 1. The Living Presence. Why Rumi Still Feels Alive. You know, if Rumi were only a poet, his words would just sit quietly in dusty old books. But people actually return to him when they feel restless or confused or spiritually dry. Why? Because he speaks to something that is still vibrating inside us today.
Think about his work kind of like the old Shahi Havelis of Lahore. When you walk through these ancient historical structures, they don't feel dead or empty. They're carved doors in those quiet courtyards. They hold this incredible living presence. Well, Rumi's language works exactly the same way. It carries a living atmosphere. It's not just historical data you memorize.
There's this great quote I love. Rumi lasts because he speaks from the inside of human experience, not from the outside of it. And once you really grasp that, Rumi stops being just famous poetry. He becomes this powerful lens that actually changes how you see your own life. He meets us exactly where we are, right in our longing, our ego, and our love.
Moving on to Section 2, the inner polish, the heart of Sufism. So, Sufism isn't about looking spiritual or just nodding along to the right ideas. It is entirely about the path of becoming innerly awake to God, to love, and to your actual real self.
Because think about it. On the outside, someone can look incredibly calm and wise, kind of like a beautifully polished lamp covering. But inside, they might be totally full of anger or just emptiness. Sufism is literally unimpressed by the lamp covering. It only cares about the actual light shining inside.
But getting to that light means dealing with the ego. And let me tell you, the ego is loud. It's constantly demanding, I need praise, I need to win, I need to stay safe, I need to be seen, I need to control absolutely everything. It's literally like an exhausted, screaming toddler in a crowded room, totally convinced that making a ton of noise is the only way it's going to survive.
But if you listen closely, beneath all that chaotic noise, the deeper self is much quieter.
Imagine a lake for a second. When the surface is violently stirred up by the wind, it distorts absolutely every image. You can't see a thing clearly. But when the water finally settles down, it flawlessly reflects the entire sky. Sufi teaching works to calm that stormy surface of our lives, so the deeper reality, that true light, can finally emerge.
And the primary tool used to calm that surface? It's love. Now, we're not talking about a comforting, fuzzy Hallmark card kind of emotion here. In Sufism, love is a massive, overwhelming force that pulls you way beyond your own selfishness. It deliberately unsettles you. It burns away your illusions and shows you that your small, ordinary self is definitely not the whole story.
It's a lot like a fire in a metal workshop. You don't purify gold by just admiring it, right? It gets hammered and refined by intense heat. In the exact same way, Sufi love is a pressure that actively changes the shape of your soul. It makes you more real.
And the ultimate goal of all this refinement is closeness to God. It's the difference between knowing a bunch of academic facts about the sun, like its distance or its surface temperature, versus actually standing outside and feeling its radiant warmth on your skin. Sufism asks for nearness and direct presence. It doesn't want distant theory.
I mean, you can explain the chemical makeup of sweetness perfectly, but you still won't actually know what honey is until you taste it. Sufism is highly experiential, and this is exactly why teachers like Rumi rely so much on poetry and stories, because some truths just have to be lived. Thinking about them simply isn't enough to carry the full weight of love and presence.
This brings us to Section 3, the classroom of life, how Rumi teaches. Now, Rumi doesn't separate spiritual truth from your mundane daily experience. The everyday stuff, wanting things, losing things, breaking down and being remade, that is the exact place where your soul gets trained.
He uses these vivid stories because, honestly, we learn best by seeing a process unfold. Take his famous image of the reed flute. A reed gets cut away from its home in the riverbed, right? And because of that cut, it now sings out of longing. It's this perfect, beautiful mirror of our own deep, human feeling of being separated from our spiritual source. Or think about a seed.
A seed literally has to break open in the dark dirt for the plant to appear. A shell has to completely crack for life to emerge. Rumi shows us that loss isn't just some meaningless interruption to our plans. In fact, it is very often the exact force needed to crack open the false confidence of the ego.
So, spiritual growth really isn't about mastering yourself through sheer force. Think of a piece of iron. It doesn't become magnetic by memorizing facts or trying really hard. It changes simply by being close to a magnet. By encountering love or grief or truth, the self transforms naturally, just through proximity.
When you step back, you see that all of Rumi's methods fit together into one unified journey. He uses story to put the human experience in motion. He uses longing to reveal our spiritual hunger, while loss breaks down our illusions. Then, love acts as the big transforming force. He uses paradox to force us to look deeper than the literal words. And finally, surrender makes room for that actual nearness to God.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 4, the ultimate destination, separation to union. Really, Rumi's entire body of work maps out one great movement, from separation to union, from illusion to truth, and from distance to nearness.
His layered language is kind of like a courtyard with an inner room. On the very first read, you enjoy the surface story out in the courtyard. It's nice. But the further inside you walk, the more you realize. The text isn't just a story anymore. The text has actually started to read you.
And as it reads you, it so compassionately names the places we all try to hide, the shame we conceal from the world, the loneliness we try to cover up with our crazy busy schedules, the fragile pride we protect so fiercely, and the deep longing we can't quite name. By speaking directly to these universal wounds, Rumi makes this ancient wisdom feel incredibly urgent and personal, even today.
So if you take away just one thought from today, let it be this quote. Rumi teaches that the heart becomes clear when it is loosened from what is false and drawn toward what is real. That's the whole journey right there, uncovering what was buried beneath all the dust of the ego so you can finally truly reflect the light.
So here's my challenge for you. The next time you face a difficult moment, take this Rumi-shaped question into your life. What inner movement is this trying to awaken in me? I really encourage you to sit with that question today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.